Alright, you know why you're here. You need to learn about early civilizations and early farming societies. You know, people like the Maya, the Chinese, maybe the Egyptians. Really early societies like that. Fortunately, I know way more about this than is really necessary, and I like talking about it. The standard you are trying to earn here reads thusly. The emergence of domestication and agriculture facilitated the development of complex societies and caused far-reaching social and cultural effects. This is kind of the thesis of the standard, and it's my job to explain why it's true and then why it matters. So let's talk food, because that's where societies start. People who care about the start of society often wonder why some people settled down and became farmers, but other groups continued a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. Most Native American tribes, the various peoples of Central and South Africa, and nomads on the Russian steppes are all good examples. This is due mainly to the available resources. If you live along the rivers of the Near East, Nile, Tigris, Euphrates, you've heard of them before, there's good farmland because the rivers wash sediment around and keep the soil healthy. This good soil is perfect for growing vast amounts of cereal grains like wheat and barley. Settling down and growing stuff here would help you grow all the food you need. The other benefit of agriculture is that it's less risky. A hunter can spend days tracking, stalking, and killing a deer for food, and that deer is going to provide a lot more food than a comparable amount of grain, but there's a large risk that the deer will run away or be scared off by something else. So a hunter may end up with more food in one season, but they may also end up with much less, giving the farmer a more stable food output. And thus, Sumeria, Egypt, Assyria, and all the other famous ancient civilizations grew out of the Fertile Crescent. Another name you've heard before and can maybe generally point to on a map. Here, the Fertile Crescent's rivers and floodplains give it its name, and it's generally used as shorthand to mean that place where the first people who built early civilizations lived. However, grains like wheat and barley don't grow everywhere. If you're hanging around in Canada, nothing that healthy or fast-growing exists. Hunting is the only option. In the term of a few lifespans, hunting-gathering also seems appealing. Your group has already been doing it for a long time, and are pretty good at it, and growing crops takes a longer time, during which you have no food if last year's supply has been depleted. But in the long term, there are some revolutionary advantages to a civilization's growth and development granted by agrarian life. A group of people in the same place growing and stockpiling food quickly reach a point where not everyone has to be a farmer. In Sumeria, they built temples to store food, and they had administrators organize the food storage. These administrators ended up developing the first system of writing for better organization. More than one ancient civilization came up with a calendar to better track the seasons for better timing on their crops. Food surplus also allows some people to spend their days making art, musing on the nature of the universe, and debating philosophy or creation. Hunter-gatherer societies made art and developed complex mythologies, but they've never had as much time to sit around and wax philosophical. It's worth noting that this idea is hotly contested by numerous historians, and there's a bit of an ongoing debate around how different civilizations rise and fall and what makes them good. The Dakota made art pieces, but they all had to be small, something you can carry on the move, and you had to spend most of your day hunting, leaving less time for art making. The Egyptians, on the other hand, had enough food surplus that artists could spend all their days carving statues or designing pyramids. There's a reason I'm telling you all this, and it's not just because you need to earn standards. We've got a narrative in most historical media that European people were better or smarter than the various peoples they came into conflict with, but it really all comes down to luck of the draw resource-wise. And you may think that every part of the world has some equivalent to cows or pigs, but the number of readily domesticatable species is small enough that it can actually be counted on your hands. There are a number of factors that make an animal a viable candidate, and places like the Americas just don't really have many. In summary, where someone lives and what they have around them can determine a lot about their society and future. Not living near any good herd animals may seem minor, but it means you'll spend a lot more time hunting and less time developing technologies, so that when the people who did get good resources meet you, they'll have guns and you won't.